Since the quick and brutal rise of the Islamic State or Daesh in Iraq and Syria, dozens of foreign fighters have joined the Kurdish forces fighting against them. 28-year-old Harry is a British national who has left his job in London and joined YPG in Rojava, the Kurdish-controlled part of Syria. After just over 5 months at the front lines, he has decided to come back to the UK. Today, I met Harry in a park in London to know more about his experience with the Kurds and fighting Daesh. So you just came back.
Yeah.
When did you come back and why did you come back?
I got back a couple of days ago on Wednesday. It's Saturday today. I was in Rojava, fighting alongside the YPG against ISIS or Daesh, and well, I'd been there for 5 months and 10 days, I think it was. I'd fought in a number of different places. I'd had a long journey, so I'd in fact got all the way to the Abdelaziz Mountains, whereby we liberated the canton, and I decided it was the right time to return home.
So in the first place, why did you go there?
I went for a number of different reasons. I mean, I'm not a soldier. I was actually working in London in a city job. I was just sitting at my desk watching the rise of ISIS on the BBC and other sort of news channels, and I was shocked. I was disgusted. I was upset at just the brutality of the organisation. I just thought there has to be something I can do. I was thinking about working for a charity, but coming out and actually volunteering my time and actually volunteering to fight ISIS seemed like the better option. So yeah.
So you left your job and you went there, and then why specifically Rojava and the Kurds?
Well, at the time, the Kurds were really only the people that were actually taking the fight to ISIS. At the end of the day, the rise of ISIS has been very quick, very sudden, very brutal, and they've been attacking obviously everyone in the region. And I suppose I've always had a deep sense of sympathy for the Kurdish people. I've always known about them, particularly the Iraqi Kurds. I learnt a lot about them when I was reading about sort of the rise of Saddam Hussein and all the rest of it. So I knew about the Kurdish people and their quest for democracy and their own freedom. So when I saw that they were taking the fight to ISIS, I thought that they're the ones I want to join, basically.
So you were you in a unit, a specific unit for foreign fighters?
No, actually, we were all split up and we were put into into Kurdish units, basically,
right.
Which was good for a number of different reasons. Primarily, so we could learn the language quite well, that we could sort of make friends, we could be taught how the Kurds do things, basically, because they've got their own set of rules, their own rules of engagement and all the rest of it. So at the end of the day, I was joining the YPG, I was joining a Kurdish military unit. I can't bring British
How many
tactics.
foreign fighters are there in Rojava?
I don't know, if I'm honest, but it's got to be, it's around 100 at the moment, so of all nationalities, particularly America, Britain, Australia, and a number of European nations.
So how do they treat you as foreign fighters, the Kurds and the YPG?
Incredibly well. It's been such a wonderful experience. As soon as I arrived, I was welcomed with open arms, and they taught me a little bit about a little bit more about the Kurdish culture and about what was going on in the country. They really, I think actually, at one point, I can remember saying to them, look, I'm not a guest. You can't treat me so well. I want you to just treat me like just another YPG fighter. So I got a good insight into Kurdish hospitality.
So you didn't have any military training when you went there?
No.
So
Well, not really. The Kurds did actually provide that to me. Particularly for the first week, whereby we went into the mountains and we learnt a little bit about sort of what the Kurds were fighting for, a little bit more of the history, straight from the Kurds, not just off the internet, what I'd done before, and also basic things like how to strip AKs and that sort of stuff. But
can you tell me a bit more about your experience in the front line and the attacks, the defense, and some details?
Yeah, well, it's incredible the difference between what the country was like and what the YPG particularly was like when I first arrived and what it was like when I left, it's becoming incredibly organised and very large as well. It's an incredibly sort of popular organisation in Rojava. And I think in terms of like what it was like on the front line, it was very difficult. But at the end of the day, you are with a tabor, a large unit of people, and we all support each other. We got into a number of different engagements with ISIS, with Daesh, and there were some pretty heavy firefights.
So mostly attacking or defense?
Mostly attacking, if I'm honest. I think the time that when I first arrived, it was ISIS that was doing the attacking. It was the Kurds who were defending, who were trying to, I don't know, they were bolstering their defences, trying to get people together and organise themselves. And then I arrived right at the right time, basically, because just as I arrived, the Kurds counter-attacked and were really pushing ISIS back. So yeah.
Any special tactics that they were using?
Oh, a real mixture. Yeah, we did a number of things. We did pincer movements. We went around. It was a lot. The tactics were very, very good. There was a lot of experience in the high command. And yeah, I mean, I think secrecy was paramount. It was sometimes we would not even know we were attacking until literally a couple of hours before, and it was clearly, obviously, very well thought out, very well drilled. We were briefed on what we were going to do a few hours before, and then we were expected to go out and get it done.
And what kind of weapons were you using, or the YPG in general have?
We have a real mixture of weapons, both actually American and mostly sort of Russian. I had an AK at one point. I even had a Bixi, a PKM, which is a heavy machine gun. And actually, the last weapon I was using was a sniper rifle. So I was able to use different weapons for different environments, which was good.
So do they have enough weapons in terms of?
Well, they've got a lot of They've got a few American Humvees. They've got tanks that they've actually captured as well. So they do have some heavy armaments. They could do with more, if I'm honest. And I was always quite frustrated that Britain and America weren't actually supporting the Kurdish people as well as they might do.
Yeah, and the UK government as well. They're not directly supporting PYD and YPG because, yeah, they're saying they have links with Assad, with PKK.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about those?
Well, I have to say I'm not an expert, but at the end of the day, I get very frustrated that what kind of allies does Britain want to have in the Middle East? Does it want to have an ally that is secular, democratic, that loves freedom and understands human rights? Then if we do want an ally like that, then why aren't we supporting people like the Kurds who are fighting not only for their own freedom but for the freedom of people around them? So I have to say I'm not an expert into Kurdish politics. I've always thought that that the Kurdish people should do so much more to unite together and look for a solution to any internal problems they have and really look forward to a future together.
Do the coalition airstrikes help in terms of how does they help?
They really do help, actually. I suppose the Kurds they could get the job done by themselves, I do believe that, but they would suffer a huge amount of casualties, unnecessary casualties doing it. The coalition airstrikes are useful, they're brilliant, but they could be doing so much more, particularly Britain. Britain is, I think I read somewhere that only one airstrike a day was being carried out by Britain, and every newspaper I speak to, I'm always saying, please, get behind the Kurds and help them take the fight to ISIS.
Are there women foreign fighters with YPG?
I think there are. I know that there was a shaheed, a casualty, from a German lady. There has been other women who are going out to fight. They've joined both the YPG and the Peshmerga, but I'm not sure of their names. So I never met any. I was very much in my group, and I never left it. I just followed wherever they ordered me to go. I was there, and I never met anyone else.
So you mentioned casualties. Did you lose any friends?
A number of different friends, actually, both sort of foreign and Kurdish. It's been quite a difficult time, actually, because the foreign casualties were they went out there to help, and they came for the same reasons that I did. And coming back now and looking around this park and thinking to myself, well, I'm so lucky to be back, is something that's, I'm quite sad about that. And of course, my Kurdish friends as well, the ones that have died and the ones that are still there, I miss them greatly.
So when you went there, of course you had some expectation before you went there.
Yeah.
When you got there, how things were different than what you were expecting before?
I think I was expecting there to be a little bit more, what's the word, disorder amongst the YPG. What's the word? Because I thought them just a militia, that it was going to be a little bit more, I don't know, disorganised than I expected. But actually, the cohesion, the dedication of the troops, it actually is a very well-drilled military force, and it's becoming even more so. So I think I was taken aback by that, and I was actually taken aback with how, when we were fighting ISIS, the superior tactics, and all the rest of it just meant that I suppose they didn't really have a chance. We really, every engagement that I took part in, we really hit them very, very hard. Which was good, obviously.
There have been some reports recently about some human rights abuses by the PYG in Syria. Do you know anything?
I know absolutely nothing about that. And I have to say, I was given free rein to travel around the country. There was never a guide. There was never anyone telling me where I should go, who I should speak to, or anything like that. So sometimes I drove myself. I even used a couple I was trusted enough for them to say, okay, use the car, take someone somewhere or whatever. So I was traveling around the country speaking to people, and actually the support, more than anything else, is what touched me. The support from Christians, Yazidis, Kurds, Arabs, it was just lovely. It was just really, really nice to see.
So what do you say the YPG or the Kurds in Rojava need the most right now?
They need support. They need political support more than anything else. As I said before, what kind of allies do we want to have in the Middle East? Who do we want to support? It's people who want freedom. It's people who want democracy. So by giving political recognition to all the Kurdish parties and actually saying, right, you do have a right to have your own lives, to have your own culture, to have your own freedom, then I think that's the right step in the right direction.
So why did you come back?
I've come back now because although the fight's not done, for me it was a logical time to draw a line. I'd gone through the entire canton, we'd fought in a number of different places, and I ended up on the Abdulaziz Mountains where ISIS had their base, had their main camp for the entire region, and we took it back after a three-week operation. So after becoming very tired, after thinking to myself, look, it's time to come home to my family, I decided it was the right time to come home.
So according to the Home Office, if you go abroad, fight in or take part in a conflict, it might be an offense or might be a criminal offense or a terrorist offense.
Yeah.
Did you know that before you left?
I did. I knew it was more, I think it's more dubious, the law is a bit hazy here, because at the end of the day, I wasn't joining a force that had unpleasant values, or I wasn't joining a force that was targeting anyone or trying to hold ground. I joined a force that was trying to protect people. And more importantly than that, I was fighting, the only people I was fighting was Daesh, was ISIS, which everyone agrees is a brutal terrorist organisation. In fact, the British government is bombing. So I think for what I did in the country, it's pretty uncontroversial, and I'm quite at peace with what I've done.
So were you stopped by the police or questioned by the police when you came back?
No, not at the airport, but I have to say they did get in contact with me just yesterday, actually. They came to my house and spoke to me. I can't go into detail on exactly what they said, but simply put that they just wanted to understand exactly why I went out and what I was doing.
Right. Now there's a Kurdish woman in jail for trying to go join the YPJ, but I understand that the law looks at individual cases, case by case, so they look at age and different circumstances. Jane, do you know of that case of
Uh,
Sheila?
I don't, but I have to say, if she was trying to join the YPJ, then that is very confusing. I think the law is quite clear that she should be allowed to go. She certainly should not be in jail if she's going to fight or wants to volunteer her time to combat the Islamic State. Because at the end of the day, who's the victim here? Who's the aggressor? It's the YPJ who are the victims, and it's the aggressor is clearly ISIS.
Do you think you achieved what you went for or what you tried to achieve?
Yeah, I think I did. If anything, I'm under no illusion. Do the Kurds do they have to have foreign volunteers joining them? No, they don't. They've got enough young men, Kurdish, Arab, Christian, Yazidi, who are willing to fight for their country. But if I can do one thing, and that's shine a light on the region and tell people about the Kurds, then that's a good thing. I always get frustrated that people in Britain don't know what it's like not to have freedom. They don't know what it's like not to have your own country. And I think people should educate themselves on sort of Kurdish history, the Kurdish people, because if you're going to understand what it's like not to have freedom, then it's best to try and look to other people who don't have it, basically.
So, what's your plan now that you're back?
The plan, well, there's a short-term plan and a long-term. The short-term plan is to relax with my family, to see them, and to relax and rest, because I've been through quite a lot. Perhaps the longer term, people have been telling me, look, you should write about your experiences. It'll be good for you. It'll be good for the Kurds. So maybe that's the goal I'll consider doing.
Will you go back?
I would definitely, if needed, 100%. I think that's the crucial thing. Not in the short term, though. I mean, my dream is to go back to Rojava, and maybe in 10 years' time or something, in 20 years' time, when it's completely at peace, and just stay for a holiday, just walk around, perhaps go to some of the villages that I fought in. That once upon a time, if I'd popped my head out of a window, I would have been shot dead. But I look forward to walking through the fields and not worry about fighting.
So basically, you're going to continue somehow
Oh,
promoting
yeah.
the Kurdish cause.
Absolutely, this is not over for me. I mean, I've gone to Rojava and I've fought alongside my friends and alongside the YPG. I've decided to come back now to see my family and have a rest. But the most important thing I can do now is tell people about what we're fighting for over there, and yeah, just do what I always went there to do, and that's shine a light.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem at all. My pleasure. Cheers.